Even exercise wouldn't get that off until you cleaned up the inside. And that's what makes this different. If you putting junk in your sugar causes dilation of the capillaries, salt causes dilation, chemicals, preservatives, glutamate, aspartate, and they have another product called hydrolyzed vegetable protein. They take vegetables that are not edible and boil them in sulfuric acid, take them out of that and put it in a caustic substance and make a brown sludge, and they put it in almost all frozen foods and soups. That's in Dr. Blaylock's book. He started not to write the book. He said, I'm going to step on so many toes, but he said, I've got to tell the truth. And you can get the book at Barnes & Noble or most bookstores. They'll have to order it from you. It's something most people don't read at night. It's not a real popular bestseller, but it's great information. He said they used to put glutamate in baby food in the 60s, and 1 jar of glutamate can destroy the frontal lobe. It affects the calcium. Your body has to have glutamate, but too much affects the calcium gate. Nutrition, we found, is extremely important. We tried to eat right. Ruby tried to eat right, but we could not get it because you can't get enough. Broccoli can actually cure cancer, but you can't eat enough in a day to get enough nutrition to do it. And once we started this, then Lois' mental clarity came back. She could remember things, and it took her 12 months to cleanse. In fact, it took her 6 years to cleanse the ears. But after 23 years, you can see why. She still had pain in her ears till about 3 months ago, and she's finally got, in fact, when the ears cleared up, her right foot was swollen. I don't know if ears passed down there or not, but now that's subsided. So finally, after 7 years, her body is cleansed. It's amazing you can do that at our age too, isn't it? The younger you are, the faster it works. The only guarantee I'll make tonight is you're going to be younger today, no matter where you're starting, than you will be tomorrow. So it started. My mother at 86 started eating the food. She had shingles all the way around her body, had hiatal hernia. She had diverticulitis. She could not get her left foot warm. She couldn't sleep laying down. She was ready to die. She said, I'm ready. She told my brother last summer, she said, my dad's name was Irvin. She said, I'll bet Irvin thinks I'm not a-coming. She's 93 now, and she just flew to Charleston, South Carolina and back, and she just flew to San Francisco, and she's coming back. Then she's going to fly to Utah. We don't eat these herbs to be alive, but if you're alive, live. And that's what I know a lot of people in nursing homes, they're alive, but they're not living. They died at 68, and they bury them at 85. But it's a shame. But nutrition's important, and exercise. You've got to squeeze the sponge. When you walk, your thighs pump almost as much fluid as your heart. You've got to squeeze the muscle. Did you ever wonder what happened to a cell in your toe when it dies, how it gets out of there? Has anybody laid awake at night thinking about that? It's got to be pumped out all the way up through here, through the lymph nodes, and drop back in the blood up here. I gave this presentation in Houston 5 years ago, and there was a Chinese doctor present, and I've had a lot of humbling experience. I've been checked out so many times, it's unreal. And after the meeting's over, he came right up and immediately said, Sunrider works because, is the declaration, it takes the dead blood and dead tissue from your body. And we had a lady that was in a motorcycle wreck 40 years ago. She had extremely bad candida. It cleansed her candida. It actually pushed it through her skin. Her mental clarity was gone. 2 years later, it cleansed the scars in her leg from a motorcycle accident 40 years ago. That oozed out of that. Then it cleansed the scar she had on the back 4 years later. She'd been eating the herb for 7 years, but it didn't take it all at once. It prioritized. It took Dave's growth wherever he had it. The fatty, where was that, sis? On the leg. He took that off first. It did for another person we had. His wife started eating the foods, and her allergies balanced real quick. Not because this is special, because her body balanced. Her husband said, I don't feel a thing, but a growth he had on his back right here disappeared in 2 weeks. That's just accumulation of junk that the body piles up and accumulates and encapsulates because it doesn't know what to do with it. If you put plastic in the soil, it'll still be there 5,000 years from now. If I put wood in the soil, it will break down because the earth knows what to do with it. So the chemicals and the preservatives and so on and so forth, they stay in the fat, and this will help pull it out. Even drugs. We've had people have a lady in Utah that had a heavy drug habit, She said, if you think these are expensive, you should have been buying the drugs I was on. It totally cleansed that residue out of her body, and now she's a healthy person.